Hi, my name is Michael Dell. I'm a Kahnawake Learner living with special needs. Back in October, I was interviewed by Kahnawake Learning. Here's a clip of that interview.
Community member Michael Dell has lived in Kahnawake all his life. Born with cerebral palsy, Michael has taken it upon himself to spread awareness about the challenges facing those living with physical disabilities and special needs here in Kahnawake. As Michael explains, the drive to educate the community originated from a promise made to a friend.
For people in Kahnawake that remember the late June DeLille, she was the director of Academy Memorial Hospital Center for a long time. When she was getting ready to move on into the spirit world, this was a long time ago before it happened, she said, when I'm gone, you have to continue my work. My vision came to me one night as I was sleeping. I said, you know, something's got to be done, and this is my words and my story. When I was interviewed, I had an idea for a show for people from Kahnawake living with disabilities. Today is the start of that show, Walk in My World. Often, people with disabilities lead sheltered lives, and their interactions are limited to caregivers and family members. I hope this show will bring you awareness of these people, their families, their lives, and their dreams for the future. The first person I'd like you to meet, he's a 17-year-old Kahnawake Learner living with autism. His mother, Linda, has graciously agreed to come and speak about his life. Linda, I want to thank you so much for coming to speak about Arihane's life.
No problem. Izoni Nyawa. Thanks for putting this together. It's great to have an opportunity to shed some light on autism in the community. My son's name is Arihane Bova, and he has autism. The official definition for autism is that it's a developmental disability that typically appears in kids before the age of 3. It's a neurological disorder that affects the functioning of the brain in the areas of communication and social interaction. So he basically has a tough time communicating and, in effect, is in his own world. How he's affected basically is that his communication level is that of an 18-month to a 2-year-old. He has a very small vocabulary of single words and an occasional 2-word sentences. He can be obsessive about things. We need to be careful when we see that he's focusing too much on something because they can lead to aggressive behavior. He also has hypo and hyper sensitivities to certain stimuli. And what that means is that for his senses, sight, sound, hearing, touch, he can either be very sensitive or not at all sensitive. For example, he's hyposensitive to touch, so he doesn't know when he comes out of the shower if he's wet, he can't feel it. He doesn't know if he has food on his face or any liquid because he can't feel it. And in order for him to feel something, you have to really hug him or squeeze him really tightly for him to get the sense of any sort of touch. And we're working on that through occupational therapy right now. We're trying to stimulate his nervous system to be able so he can function better.
How old was he when you discovered something was wrong?
Well, if I look back honestly with 20/20 hindsight, I would say that I probably noticed something at the age of 6 months. But at the time, although he was reaching his milestones a little late, he was still reaching them. But at 16 months, he started to lose some of the words that he had acquired, and it became apparent that something was wrong. And when he did get his immunization at 18 months, he got really sick, and within a week was self-abusive and lost whatever language he had acquired by that point. This obviously prompted medical and psychological interventions. And when he was almost 2, at about 22 months, he was assessed and given an unofficial diagnosis of autism.
What happened then?
Well, he was immediately enrolled into step-by-step on a part-time basis because of the severity of the characteristics or the symptoms that he was exhibiting until they found a full-time spot for him in February 1994. At that time, we had also started to go through over a 2-year process to obtain an official diagnosis, and this involved a full gamut of testing, medical, psychiatric, psychological testing with specialists in order to obtain that diagnosis.
What were some of the hardest issues you and your family faced when you was growing up?
Okay, there were so many. The running away phase was fun. I didn't have to worry about getting my cardio between the ages of 4 and 10. He was potty trained at the age of 9, so that was nice. His lack of fear or knowledge that fear existed in the world was something that was really difficult. You know, safety was a huge concern. He would run into the street, he would jump in water, he would jump off tall structures. He had no knowledge of fear at all. Puberty was not something I want to go through again. It was really tough, and we're still not completely through it, so we'll see what happens. But acceptance, and I think in the community, is a big one. You know, having him be accepted, or having him to be able to go about his daily routine and just be accepted in the community would be awesome.
What are some of the hardest challenges now for taking care of a growing person with autism?
Well, essentially, physically, he is a man. He's a man who cannot live independently and who functions at a toddler level. So, whereas one might see this 6'3", 227-pound monster walking towards them, he's basically just a big giant man baby. You know, and he probably just wants the toy in your hand or likes the color of your shirt, but he might want your soda or your food too. So size and strength come into play there. They're both enormous, and something that we have to take into consideration and deal with on a daily basis. Hygiene, being a man, physically, you know, the hygiene issues are challenging at times, you know, and those duties are relegated to the mom. So I take care of that for the most part. And one of the big ones too is because he's nonverbal, you know, having to take care of him medically. You know, he can't tell me when he's sick, he can't tell me when he's hurting, and he can't tell me what it is that hurts. So there's a whole process that you have to go through to find out physically what hurts, and then if it's internal, find out where it hurts, and then take him to the hospital if he needs to. Again, people's perception of him, you know, he's really big, but he's a sweetheart, and people don't easily see that right away. They look at the physical before they take the time to get to know him, and I guess acceptance